Hey guys, welcome to the video. Here we are building a B20 VTEC engine, and I finally got all the parts in the machine shop, and I'm going to actually be assembling the bottom end here. Just cleaning everything up, getting the bearings installed and whatnot. In terms of bearings, we just went with the standard size ACL bearings, and they all fit pretty well. Here they are right here, standard size. So everything we got done at the machine shop was pretty much the full works. The most expensive thing being the dart and sleeves going in, but we're really happy they're in there. We got a line bore, we got the crank balanced and polished. I am running SuperTech rods. I actually called SuperTech and asked them, hey, are these rods balanced from factory? And they're like, yep, they are. So that's pretty good. So we've made sure we've done our homework and have done the works on this thing and have given it a lot of consideration. And I'm definitely crossing my T's and dotting my I's throughout the video, as you'll see here. Here's the thrust washers. Again, standard size. We're keeping it pretty original. When I was putting this engine together, actually, I did not have a CRV manual for the B20 bottom end, but I was looking at my Integra manual, and the B18C1 and the B18B1 actually shared a lot of similarities. So I'm going off of those clearances, and from some of the clearances I could find online for the B20, they were also the same. So I'm not that worried about it. But here we are dropping the crank on in, and I was extra careful in doing that because, well, you know, it's just very iffy and you get it back from the machine shop. But yeah, I found out the trunk of my Coronet works as a great working surface. And I don't care if it gets a little scratched up anyways, because it'll get painted anyways, but working on some protective surfaces there via towels. But anyways, here's the main caps. Cleaning it up, making sure she's nice and true. Definitely don't want to get anything between those mating surfaces when you're bolting it to the block. Here I just have all my assembly stuff, industrial size ARP, some RTV, some plastic gauge, assembly loop, and a piston ring grinder, which I actually got use of. I bought that grinder back in 2019 when I built my first engine. Now I'm actually getting to use it on this engine. Here I put plastic gauge on the mains. I'm just going to torque it on down, see the specs, take it back off, and make sure she's true. So here I torque this in increments of 20 to 40 to 80. Well, actually it was a little bit higher, but that's what I usually like to go for. So this is an ARP bottom end, and I want to make sure I did it right. And the thing about this is I actually torqued this in the wrong sequence, but it's all fine. You want to start in the middle and kind of work your way out. But yeah, ARP hardware, you want to go in 3 stages of steps. And if there's one thing I wish I did, I wish I let it sit a little bit longer, kind of let the bolts or the rods or whatever stretch, but that's fine. We'll pop it off here and we'll take a look at them clearances. And in lieu to this, I'd actually like to say that I did not have a torque wrench that I trusted, so I borrowed my neighbor's. He's a mechanic, so he said he gets his torque wrench calibrated by the Snap-on guy every year, or checked, and it's been true. This torque wrench has been pretty awesome. I did go to Harbor Freight actually, and I did buy a 3/8 drive for torquing the rod bolts down and whatnot, but I haven't actually had a use for that yet. That's kind of how I do it. Every time I build an engine, I just buy a brand new Harbor Freight torque wrench. But anyways, here we are. We're busting these caps loose, and thankfully the plastic came off pretty easily. Well, I found out it just blasts off with brake clean. In terms of the size of the bolts there, they were a 1/2 inch. Not your typical 13, they were a 1/2 inch, but I guess it's ARP, you know, standard size. But here we are popping these caps off. Now let's take a look at that plastic gauge. Now if you're kind of copying me, pause the screen here, because these are all the clearances for a B18B1 engine, and the C1 shared a lot of the same. But here I am, I'm measuring it, and I did it in inches and thou, but then I kind of went to millimeters because it was more useful that way. But we're right in the middle in terms of the standards for all the clearances. And I did realize I wrote it wrong here too, but I went back and fixed it. But yeah, so far so good. The machine shop did a great job machining this engine. Here I am installing the assembly lube to the crankshaft. You want to go really light with it and not too liberal, otherwise it'll smear over and get in between the actual deck surface of the actual rod cap and the bottom casting of the block, and that'll affect your torque specs. But otherwise, we got these all installed, and I was actually about to install the block girdle, as you'll see right here. However, I decided not to do that because I won't be able to actually access the rod caps when I do the plastic gauge on those. So we'll do that another day. This is where I ended my day. Here we are on the next day. This is when I decided, all right, it's time to install the piston rods to the pistons, and also work on the piston rings. Now these SuperTech rods and pistons, they had a floating pin style, which is really nice, and I'd much rather work on something like this versus having to heat up something and cool something down and strictly rely on thermal physics and dynamics and all that stuff. I don't know, I dropped out of engineering, I'm no genius. But anyways, the downside to this is you gotta use a circlip to retain it. Unfortunately, I lost that, so I actually couldn't fully assemble this engine in one day, which I was kind of hoping I could do. I can only do 99.9% of the bottom end at least, but it is what it is. Here I'm just making sure that wrist pin's nice and lubricated. I don't want to mar anything up. I mean, these surfaces are very well machined, and I want to make sure I'm doing things right. And these are those dreaded circlips. I had to order some more in the mail, but they're pretty nice when they work, but I haven't really figured out the finesse to them yet, so you just kind of got to cuss them on in, but you know, that's how it goes when you're a car guy. Now you'll see me here lubricating the outside of the wrist pin there, and actually underneath the rod too. I edited it out of the video, but there is a little slot, a little hole that I also like to oil through. Everything matters. I mean, this engine, when it first starts up, it'll probably idle at 2,000 RPM, 3,000 RPM. So you want to make sure you get as much oil on everything as possible before she gets sent to the moon. And here we're installing the top ring. I'm trying to remember the specifications of it. I think I showed it on the screen here, but I actually did overbore it a little bit too, according to SuperTech, for boost, because this engine in the future might be boost. I think the factory gap on these, or what SuperTech recommended, was like 0.0045 thousandths, and I did it to 0.0050 thousandths end gap, or something like that. I just wanted to make sure this engine was good for boost, and in the future it might be a little loose while it's NA, but I'm not that worried about it. The guy I'm building it for didn't seem that worried about it. We're just trying to keep it better safe than sorry, and we don't want to open up this engine again. And then here, of course, going through all the data here and having to do the math, but it's real nice. When you get out of the box, it'll walk you through it. Trust but verify. Looked a couple things online, but here I am opening up this grinder. I got this grinder, like I said, in 2019, and it's been sitting in the box since, well, now 2025. I just never used it with my first engine rebuild because I was like, oh, I'll just go with factory specs. But now that we're older and can afford turbo stuff, you know, now you got to do more work. And when I first used this grinder, I actually realized I was using it backwards. There's only one grinding side, and the other side is just kind of the back side of the disc. And I found that out, and at first year, I was real hesitant to use it because I was like, well, I can take material off these rings, but I can't put it back on. Oh, I remember now. So after doing the math, it turned out that the end gap I needed for turbo spec is 0.0166. And yeah, now here I'm actually doing, this is 20 thousandths, the second ring. And that one checked out fine. Fortunately, the oil ring and the second rings, all those rings are fine and didn't need any grinding down whatsoever. Yeah, the oil rings, they went in fine. But when you're doing this, you want to make sure it's nice and true. See, when I'm dragging up and down, if I don't drag it up and down perfectly right, it moves them around. Well, now I made sure that they were even again, tested again, and it's all hokey-dory. Now here I am installing the rings the good old-fashioned way. I actually do have a ring wrench, you could say, for doing this exact purpose, but for the life of me I couldn't find it. Last time I touched it was 2019, and I've moved since then, and you know how things get lost in a move, but that's okay. As long as you're careful, you can put them on by hand, but definitely be careful because I have bent and snapped rings doing this before. They're pretty brittle. They'll take a beating in the cylinder, but they don't like to be moved around that much. And here's end gap placements. I mean, you don't really have to worry about this too much, but I just tried to set them 180 from each other and move the oil rings where it liked it. But at the end of the day, it's going up and down that cylinder. They're going to float on their own anyways. Well guys, thank you for watching the video. It's a shame because I lost one of these actual little circlips. I don't think I caught it on video, and I just searched the floor of my shop for like an hour and it's nowhere to be found. So, oh well, I guess I'm gonna have to wait for new circlips to come in the mail. This is what they are right here. Just these little guys, and they're spring loaded when you're putting them in those pistons, and I knew this would happen. I saw it pop out, I saw it hit the ground, but once it hit the ground it bounced, and I searched my whole parts area and I can't find it. So we'll get back. I was really hoping I could get the clearances on these piston rod caps by the end of this video, but I can't finish it now. But at least we got the clearances on the mains, and those mains are good. So that's awesome. I got faith that the rod caps are good. And I'm just going off the factory service manual and what it says in the SuperTech stuff right there. Anyways guys, stay tuned for progress. I'll have more content coming out on this B20V soon. Fortunately, this is like a week setback now. That's a Saturday, so who knows, or Friday, so who knows if they're even gonna send stuff on the weekend. So, but I feel like we're gonna get this B20V in the Civic running and driving, hopefully within the month here. I don't know, I really just want to grind away at it and get it done, and I got some time here before work, working third shift, so I got time. Anyways guys, thanks for watching the video. Please drop a like, comment, subscribe if you appreciate it, and stay tuned for more Honda content.